All right, so in my past videos, I have been mostly focused on analyzing, other traders. I've been focused on the actual strategies and kind of just been testing and vibe coding and trying to figure out, and learning about Polymarkets. But now it's time to take things on a little bit more big picture stuff. We actually need to figure out the overall solution design and architecture of the bots. And I don't think I'm sure that this will make like the whole software and the whole bot much more robust and actually better performing in the future. So in this video, I have designed the complete architecture in like a big picture way. So with these diagrams. So I'm going to go through it, and of course you can copy this or you can use this for inspiration in your own bot. And of course I encourage you, if you have any ideas or if you see any flaws in this design, to leave a comment down below, and then I can refine this bot here. So let me start from the top. In the beginning of the bot, of course, we have what I call the config loader, and this is basically just all the settings that we're going to have in our bot. The settings can be different things, such as the different strategies, what kind of data that we need, and different settings. A relatively easy and simple way to configure the bot before we click play, basically. And then we have the different data sources that I will be referring to as pipelines. So this can be, for example, most important is the market channel WebSocket from Polymarket. And we have the user channel, WebSocket, and other channels. The idea behind this is that we are able to connect several different data sources into our bot and then make actions based on those data sources. It could also be, for example, the weather in Canada, or it could be how many times Elon Musk tweets per day, and stuff like that. So any kind of data, we get that into the data sources. So when we get the data, it's just the raw data that we receive into our bot. And then we have these pipeline adapters. So what they do is they basically just take the data and then they tag it. And the specific details I'm not sure about yet. So this is just an overview and sort of an idea of how to go about this. So it could be something like a timestamp of when it's received, what kind of a source, is it the Polymarket WebSocket, and then what kind of a event it is. In this case, the event type price change as an example. So this is what we call the tagged message. That's then passed over to our processing unit. The processing unit has, again, different methods to process the actual data. So you can see here in the tagged message, we still have the raw data from our pipelines from before. So we haven't touched that yet. Now the processing unit's task is basically to take this data, the raw data from the event. For example, it could be a price change, or it could be a change to the order book. It's going to take that data and then convert it to a format that we can use in our bot, because you have to consider that, let's say we have 10 different data sources that all return, let's say, a price of some kind. Well, we need to make sure that all the fields and so on and so forth has the correct format. And so basically just unifying the format so we can use that in the rest of our program. So that's what I call the processed event, okay? So we get the raw data in, we tag the data, and then we process it. We then pass it over to our event bus. So the task of the event bus is basically just to orchestrate the different events that we have to the different signals. So for example, let's say that we have a simple moving average strategy, let's say a crossover of 14 SMA over 28 SMA. That's a signal that we register in our bot, and this signal then subscribes to the specific events that it needs. Let's say we have 10 different sources, but this one only needs to subscribe to, let's say, the BTC USD data source. So that's this event boss's responsibility to basically forward the processed event over to our signal layer that has the different signals. Okay. Now the signal layer's responsibility is then producing the signal. So for example, it could be the exponential moving average. Okay. So it then takes the event and then it computes the signal. In this case, it's the exponential moving average, different kind of periods and so on. It passes that data over to our strategy layer. So this is kind of where, I'm not sure if this makes this bot a little bit different, but the bot will be able to actually have several different strategies in one, so it can subscribe to several different markets, but also have different strategies. So we have different strategies that also subscribe to different signals. So you see the strategies subscribe to signals, the signals subscribe to events and so on. And the strategies then, that's where we formulate the actual strategy. For example, the moving average crossover or whatever strategy that we figure out, and that produces actions. Again, the details here is not clear yet. It's just an overview, and it produces an action payload. For example, it can be the buy action to buy whatever for an amount, and then a reason and other data that we deem fit for the action payloads here. It then moves over to the execution layer. So this is where this is where we actually make the orders. So we have some validation and maybe some logging. Again, a little bit fluffy about the details here. And then we have a risk manager. So I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to go about this yet, because I'm also thinking about implementing methods to control the risks within the strategies. For example, if we have, let's say we have 3 or 4 different strategies, it's actually the same strategy, but maybe with different risk profiles, and we want to, test that, then we need some kind of a risk module on the strategy layer. And so this risk manager is potentially just a portfolio risk manager, like an overall risk manager. So I need to think about that a little bit more. And then we have the execution. So the actual, do we take the action, go through all these steps, and then we execute it. After we execute the trade, this is what I've just been kind of thinking about is, well, how do we actually manage it then? Because the strategies probably also need to know when to exit. For example, let's say that, all right, we place a buy. First of all, we need to monitor, is it getting filled? And if not, then what are we going to do? Unless the Polymarket client handles it for us. But in case it doesn't, and in case we have to manage that manually, well, we have to figure that out. And I do have a solution for that I'm going to explain. And then we also have to manage, let's say we need to close positions. Maybe we need to sell positions based on the definition in the strategy. So this is where, if we go back to the top, to the data sources, this is where the user channel WebSocket comes in, and potentially other methods. So we actually take that data, the order data for the specific user, in our case, our portfolio, because we can subscribe to WebSockets as well. So for example, when an order is filled, we get that in as an event from the WebSocket. We manage it just like we did before, and we process it and so on and so forth. But the difference is it doesn't go to the signal layer. Instead, it goes to our position layer. So we need a way, let's see if you can see it. So we need a place in our bot to handle state of the positions. So that will receive events from the user event pipeline, and then it will keep local states. And I'm thinking also a way to synchronize, let's say that let's say that we lose connection of the WebSocket for 2 seconds, and in that period of time we had a trade execute. Then we need a way to synchronize, and then we can utilize another pipeline, which could just be an API call that just polling every, I don't know, 5 seconds, every second, or whatever the rate limit allows us to poll. So the position layer then enables us to, just to keep a track of the positions and so on. And we can also have our strategies subscribe to the, for example, the user channel WebSocket. So let's say we subscribe to the market channel, which gets all the price updates for the market, but also the user channel. So let's say we subscribe to the market channel. We figure out, all right, now we want to buy. We then make an action to buy. And then when it's filled, we get the event from the user channel here, all the way down through here, through the event bus, and then to the signal layer. Now, this is where I'm not 100% sure yet, because we probably don't want to have a signal specifically for like, all right, now this order has been filled. So we potentially need this event bus to also just relay it directly to the strategy layer. Not sure yet. So need to think about this a little bit more. So of course, if you have some suggestions how to solve that, or if you have some ideas how to improve this, then please let me know down in the comments below. And the next step will then be to implement all these different modules. And I've already begun working on the pipelines here, the pipeline adapters, the processing unit, and then part of the event bus. I'll be making a video about that when the code looks good and when it's when it's in a good order. So I expect that video to be ready hopefully tomorrow. So I hope you check in tomorrow and subscribe to receive notification next time I post a video. So see you on the next video. Have a good one. Bye.